Why would you get in bed with somebody who you know is a bankrupt loser?
I guess I could ask Jenna.
And now, Cheese Wits.
Is this the War Plans group chat? Am I in the right place for that?
Yes, you are, Mr. Goldberg.
Okay, great.
You are here. Would you like to talk about your war plan?
Let's do it.
Before a housekeeping note first, I will be unavailable next Wednesday since I will be in Las Vegas from Friday through Thursday for the broadcasting show. And unfortunately, any time that's in the daytime with me being on the West Coast falls, right within show hours. So I will be unavailable unless we do another episode. Hold on, wait a minute. What week is this? I'll be available next Wednesday. It's the following Wednesday I won't be available. My bad. Next Wednesday I'll be here. I'm gone from the 4th through the 10th.
Okay. So we can figure that out later.
Yeah, my bad. My weeks are all confused because I'm shopping for stuff and trying to get pants that fit and all that sort of bullshit.
Okay. All right.
So we're in this new house, right?
Yeah. How's that going?
And it's great, except I think the line of the week, keep in mind, I've got, fucking farm girl with me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's just walking around the house, tits out, walking downstairs, all the windows, blinds open. And, this is not city living, but it's urban living close enough. So all the houses are close together.
Right.
And I'm like, honey, you can't get dressed downstairs in the living room. Why? I just didn't want to wake you. Honey, your tits are out and there's a window right there. And she looks at me and says, oh my God, I'm new at this. I'm sorry.
She's new at having neighbors.
Yeah, apparently. Yes, actually, because the closest house on that farm would have been half a mile away.
Well,
no, I feel her on that.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for her, but there's things I'm trying to teach her in the house. I'm like, honey, when you get out of a shower, I know you've never had a glass shower before, but you got to wipe it off or scum and shit builds up immediately. So I'm teaching her housekeeping as we go along as well.
Okay.
So, but otherwise it's good. I had to improvise this morning and move my Rodecaster because somebody actually needed some voice work, and I haven't set up the studio yet. I bought a nice desk at Staples for one of the extra bedrooms, and I was going to put the studio in there, and yada 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 yada. Somebody needed something today, and I've been too lazy to put together this Allen wrench desk. Okay,
because it's the worst.
Yeah, I know.
It is the worst.
And I took the Rodecaster downstairs. They had right when you walk in the front door, there was a closet area that the previous owner had. I won't say walled off, but it was like a little enclave area that's probably about 6 by 3, and he had like a standard shower curtain across it just to block
a murder room.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But it was like a little shower curtain there, and I'm like, you know what, this might work today because everything's just wood floors, so there's reverb everywhere. And I went in there and I closed the shower curtain. God damn it, if it wasn't the best voiceover session I've ever done. It sounded so good. The room sounded so now I'm going to keep the shower curtain up downstairs.
Okay.
And I'm going to leave the studio there, and I'm just going to turn the upstairs into just the office where I have the computer, and that's it.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought that a little tiny room with a shower curtain, for fuck's sake, would be the answer to my problems.
Now, what are the odds, Christopher, of you actually using the studio for this show?
What are the odds of me being home when this show is being done?
Also that, because Wally and I talked about it last time when we were waiting for you to get your chiropractic done, about how you just spend this whole hour doing your errands or whatever.
Oh my God, I forgot to go to the fucking chiropractor. God damn it. I had a 3:15 today. I totally fucking forgot about it.
Oops.
You really did?
Yeah, I totally forgot. Totally forgot because I've got a massage tomorrow to work out this thing in my leg before I go to Vegas. And I totally forgot about the chiropractor. Isn't that a bitch?
I want to know. Well, there's actually a couple of things I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
The thing you sent out, Jess.
What thing did I send out?
Regarding the iHeart interest.
And that wasn't iHeart. That was Odyssey.
Oh,
Odyssey.
yeah.
Yes.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that interesting. And also, Chris, I'm very interested in this Vegas broadcast convention. Is it a broadcasting convention?
It is a broadcasting convention, Wally.
It must be so entirely different from what it was 10 years ago.
Well, even right before COVID. I mean, this is where you would go. I think. Do you remember TM Productions did a thing called Tomorrow Radio, and it was a parody of radio stations, and they started playing punk country on the air and all this shit. But the guy said, "Hey, you going to be going to the NAB this year?" And he says, No, everything is virtual now. Keep in mind, they're just pretending that it is 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Right.
everything is virtual. He says, you got to go. That's where everybody goes for good food and get laid. And well, I mean, that's where I used to go for good food and to get laid. But not anymore so much. The showroom floor has gone to, I'm going to say 80% video, if not more. Radio is in its own kind of corner. And there's not like, there used to be program syndicators and shit like that there. Now it's all just engineering types. And that's fine because that's who I cater to now. But for somebody that's going out and, wants to listen to the latest jingles or talk about, fucking Format 41 on Westwood One or whatever, that's not the place to do it anymore.
You are the only person I've ever known to go to that convention.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I've never known anybody.
And we sell stuff there. I mean, we sell a lot there. And
But you were going even before you were doing that.
I started going in. Did I go when we were working in Frederick?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. That would have been my first year actually, and that was just an excuse to go to Vegas and say, "Oh, broadcast convention. I can write this off." So that's what that was. And then the years after that, I started going to kind of learn stuff. And then me and my friend Josh started working together. And even before I was working for him, as I am now, I would still go and represent his booth. I would take the time off of whatever other job I had and be representing his company on the showroom floor.
That's not the same Josh that worked for us part-time, right?
That is not Josh Markowitz.
Because
no.
Josh Markowitz comes up in my Facebook memories from time to time, having commented some of his bullshit on my stuff, and I get mad all over again.
As you should. As you should. Although I did see one good one today, Zach Tinney, who I think came after you.
Nope, he was. I remember Zach because I think he started as an intern when I was there.
Is that what it is?
And he interned maybe on the. I don't think he was my intern, but I remember him one time coming into the studio to give me advice on how to do my job properly.
Well, you know what? Aside from that, he's a good kid, and he's gotten a couple of decent jobs along the way, and. But he put up a picture of our beloved St. Joe today on Facebook.
Oh.
And he said, best advice from Joe Bailey. Don't fuck up, kid.
Yep.
Which that's classic Joe Bailey. Right
and actually, the advice Joe Bailey gave me when I was promoted to program director was don't be a cunt, which he wasn't wrong.
No, that's correct. But you still did it.
But
you still did it.
I can't deny my nature, Christopher.
I mean, my fucking God.
And by the way,
but so the rest of Vegas, I mean, it's literally showroom floor from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And, just shaking hands, kissing babies, or shaking babies and kissing hands, depending upon who it is. And then at night, we take people out to dinner. Like one night, we've got Lawry's the Prime Rib that we're going to. The other night, we're going to the Palm. The other night, you take people out for expensive dinners, and hopefully they'll reciprocate by buying shit.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I set up 4 dinners, and it looks like a Barry Manilow show on Friday night, either Friday or Saturday. I don't remember which. So, yeah. And
Really?
Gambling is going to be low on my scale this year because I got to tell you, I just don't give a fuck. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I was sort of envisioning that there would be a lot of podcast people there.
And now there are. That is correct. There are more people doing podcasts, and there's actually a section dedicated to that. And you've got Mike McVeigh coming out there and all the rest of the consultants that are now trying to consult the podcast generation.
Yep.
So they're there for that.
And that brings us full circle back to the offer we got, that if we wanted to pay the low price of $800, we could get sponsorship opportunities via Odyssey.
Now, if you looked at that email correctly or text or whatever the hell that was, if you look at it correctly, I'm pretty sure if you click the link, called the number, sent an email, hello, this is Paula from the Odyssey. I'm pretty sure that's what that was.
You might be right.
Yeah.
Why did it say kindly? Is that how we know?
Kindly and best regards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's so, they're just, why would you get in bed with somebody who is a bankrupt loser?
That's why they needed our $800, Wally.
Yeah. I was about to say, I guess I could ask Jenna.
Jess, I did read it. You're inflating it, Jess. It was $7.99.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that was the broadcaster discount.
Yeah, the $1 processing.
Yeah.
It's so, and forgive my thinking it was iHeart, but both those companies are easily interchangeable as losers.
Same difference. By the way, do you remember, Wally? Do you remember Chris Allinger in Ithaca?
The name was he at the Ithaca station?
He was at WQNY.
Yeah.
And he still has been at WQNY, apparently, for 35 years, which I know because I just saw the news that he will be retiring after 35 years with that station.
Oh, he will be retired.
Yep. He started
is that
when
where
it was
Ashton is?
It was rock, and then he flipped it to country. Now, Dave's not at QNY. Dave's at the light station, isn't he?
Yeah, that was our major competition.
And anytime you see call letters like that, you're like, QNY, the Music FM.
Q103.
Yeah.
It was Q103 Classic Rock. I remember it being Classic Rock when I was in probably high school, and I know I was listening to him then.
I'm going to admit something that I just have never really admitted or even thought of. I almost never, as a program director, paid attention, except for WOW, paid attention to any other station in the market. I just didn't give a shit. Well, I thought we had a mission. My station had a mission, and that's the mission. And when you start, I always felt like when you paid attention to another station, you fucked yourself up, because then you started making moves you wouldn't normally do.
Start reacting.
And reacting way too much. Not that I wasn't aware of those stations there, but so I, complete honesty there, just, I don't even remember the station other than there was a light station in Ithaca.
Yeah, and that's the one Dave's at. QNY, there wouldn't have been a reason for you to pay attention to it anyway, because it was classic rock. It was a different audience.
Yeah. I've just never given a shit about any other station in the market that I've ever programmed in, because it just didn't make any fun. Like when we were in Utica, I knew there were stations in Syracuse, and ones that we were impacting and ones that were reacting, because when I would go to New York and talk to radio stations, to record, they say, what are you doing? This one's doing this and this one's doing that, and they're talking about this, and it's just something I just never paid attention to, and I'm not sure that anybody, I don't even know. So when I hear you talk about radio, some of the stations you broadcast at or been in the director at, I know I hear you talk. You're aware of stations were there, but they're there. So
why? Jess's last program director job, she didn't have to worry about anything else.
No.
I mean, you only had to worry about your station and how high you could get the numbers, because you were never going to be number 2.
That's a fact.
You were always going to be number 1. There's no doubt about it. If you and I had a 13 share, great, but you and I had a 30 share.
Right. If that station had fallen from number 1, I should have been fired immediately, because it was handed to me on a silver platter.
Hegseth said you should be fired.
Well, and there was one person that did do that, if you remember. prior to you that actually lost the beauty contest to Key 103.
Yep.
So, and that person should have been fired, but I guess wasn't.
No. My directive was, okay, we're number one by far with, I think it was a 13 or 15 chair or something when I got it. And
very nice.
The GM said, I want a 20. And I got him a 20.
Yeah, that's all I ever went for too. It's
the first and last time I ever worked for a station that got a 20 share.
Well, yeah, and then GM wanted a 25, and well, what's the word we use? Outperform.
I only worked for one station that got the 20 when I was in upstate New York.
Jess and I outperformed that radio station overall. I mean, there were some day parts that had a 10, which was still number one.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus Christ, I mean, I don't know what it was. I mean, you and I are not likable people, so I don't know what they were listening to.
Because here's the thing, Chris. I think people thought we were kidding.
But we weren't.
No, but they thought we were.
They thought we were kidding, but no, we were just snarky assholes.
We were just snarky assholes, and they would be like, "Oh, they're so funny." No,
they're so funny. Ha 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 ha. No, that's us.
But snarky is funny, right?
Can be, I guess, if you're not
especially
on the
if people
receiving
think you're
end
being
of
funny.
it. Yeah,
right.
I mean, I would mock listeners on the air for calling because they would be calling while I'm on the air talking about there's an accident on 270. It's shut down. It's backed up for 10 miles. And then I would turn off the microphone and answer the phone. Hi, WFRE. Hey, what's going on 270?
Right. You would do that. And then we'd get back on the air after the commercial break. And over the intro to the record, be like, hey, Chuck, thanks for listening, buddy. Dick.
Yep.
But that in itself is fantastic.
But that's why we did well. That's why Jess and I worked well together, much like I'm sure you two did. But it's so crazy that radio like that, you can't even fucking do it today. You can't get even close to that today.
I bet we could.
And
you and I probably could. However, we would have a stern talking to from somebody unless you were the program director. And then maybe Doogie Howser PD may come down on us. Who knows?
Back in the day, when Jess and I worked together, she was a malleable piece of clay.
Yep. I was a teeny tiny baby. I didn't know anything.
We worked super well together. And so Jess and I have talked about this before, but I think that when you meet, good foundations are wicked important in all kinds of jobs. I had a great foundation working for Ken. I think I was a good starting point for Jess, and she obviously grew far beyond what I brought to her. But I think the good stuff that I brought and the good stuff that Jess then passes on, that's the shit that builds great radio.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I would like to think that Jess learned a lot from me, even though I was the part-timer.
She learned how to drink wine out of a
That
bar.
is exactly what I was going to say, man. I plied that old bitch with box wine. Okay?
I learned how to get my afternoon part-timer to stop at the gas station and buy me wine on the way to work.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly
that
right.
Reminds me, Samantha Fox on, you're so dirty.
So dirty.
You're a dirty girl. Really. So
I want to have some fun.
Speaking of, sort of looking at Jess's lifestyle right now, I want to tell you about my daughter.
My lifestyle?
Yeah. Where you're
this ought to be rich.
No, you're an independent woman who has, definitely made a statement saying, I don't need a guy to be. Yeah. So my daughter and I having a conversation today, talking about her guy.
Has she not left this guy yet? The Unabomber?
No, she hasn't. But she said today, she goes, I think this summer I'm going to do some day tripping, especially in May. I'm going to go and do some day tripping because I have some time and I'll keep her boyfriend's name out of it. Tanner is going to is mad at me because he said he wanted to do this stuff, but he's been talking about doing this stuff for last year too, and he doesn't do this stuff. So he's giving me grief about it. She goes, I sort of come to the conclusion that I'm fine by myself. I like going and doing stuff by myself. I like that I don't have to take.
I'm glad she's
time.
figured that out younger than I figured it out.
Well, I would have hoped she would have figured it out because I'm her dad, and her dad has been teaching her this forever. Because I am the king of the day trip, and I am, when I was younger, as you know, I traveled across the country. I drove coast to coast 5 times before I met Jody. I loved doing stuff by myself because you're not under the restrictions or the restraint of somebody hurrying you, pushing you along, not wanting to look at what you want. That you can stand in front of a. I like art, and I like museums, and I like flea markets, and I like all that fucking shit, and I like little roadside bullshit, bad hot dogs and stuff. I like all that stuff, and to be able to go and absorb it. Anyways, all my bullshit, forget it. I was so glad to hear my daughter say this.
Yeah. And also apply everything you just said to living alone. I like my house this way. I like having the dog.
Yeah.
Like I like all of these things, and I don't have to argue with anybody about anything.
Yeah, there isn't, and it's not a case of she is okay doing it without somebody because she's having such a fucking hard time finding the right somebody. The person who's not because she's a cunt or anything, because she's not. She's bright, she's educated, she works hard, she can do all that shit. She just doesn't want an asshole.
And the thing is, I feel like this is going to be a gross overgeneralization, and I realize that, and not all men. We'll just go ahead and say that. Right,
I'm good at the gross overgeneralization.
Right out of the gate.
Comes, listen to this, bitch. Here we go.
I know you are, Wally. A lot of guys are freaked out by the idea that women are figuring out that they can do shit without them.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of guys trying to, I don't even know what the word is. They're trying to to make women feel some kind of way about this, that where they go, where they think that we're going to go, oh, you're right. Never mind. I do need you. Please come buy me something and fix the things at my house.
Jody and I, this is absolutely true, that I would be more disappointed if Jody was not independent and did not do things outside of what we do together. Because that's the shit, at least in our relationship, that's the shit that makes when we do shit together so much better. When she has experiences with her friends doing other stuff, or hey, I'm going to be gone for the day. I'm going to this thing or that thing, or I'm going to this friend's house, and we're going to be doing a knitting thing, or we're going to whatever it is, a book.
I'm going to my boyfriend's house. It's fine.
Craft fair, or I'm gonna go suck some cock somewhere else.
There you go.
Yeah,
all of that. And same here, when I would go fishing or go hang out with some friends.
Suck some cock somewhere else.
I'd go.
Maybe why don't we all go suck cock somewhere else and have a little bit of clitoral oil?
I think that would make the show better too.
But
so would an enema.
Glad to hear my daughter say that. Because what I was telling her is, I said, okay, guys, neither one of you know. Today, I turned 62.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. But I was telling her that, listen, you don't want to, in 30 years from now, say, I wish I would have. I wish I had. Just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Just go out and do it. Because I can't think of anything really, and I'm sure there is something that I say, boy, I wish I would have done that, because I fucking did those things. I went to California. I lived for a year and a half. I did the shit I wanted to do. I just did those things. I ate ass. I just keep going.
At least he fucking admits it. I mean, that's
finally
the first part.
Only took 3 episodes.
I feel such a weight lifted off my face. It's so nice. Oh, Yeah. So it's just, but I think a lot of people are in this place. I think, I wanted to say something about what you said, Jess, and I just forgot. The guys are, I think guys are sort of, afraid of women who are able to self-sustain.
The thing is that the guys have continued to be brought up to be taught that they're supposed to be the provider. And so many men think that's the only thing that they can offer. And women have learned over the last 50 years, as we've gotten more and more, we're allowed to have our own credit cards and own property and, all of the same things boys can do. And so women in this same amount of time have developed into, I don't need men to do these things for me. I don't need a provider. What else do you have to offer? And the guys are like, what do you mean? What do I have to offer? Provider. I'm a provider. That's all I got.
Right. But that is a failure of family, or it's a generational failure of family to say, you are, as a male, as a boy, you are more than. Mm-hmm. And then teach boys that they are more than. Mm-hmm. Like, we have spent a lot of time teaching our daughters and our granddaughters and our girls, you are more than. Mm-hmm. But we haven't taught boys that you too are more than. And that's what we have to do. And I know I brought this up sort of clumsily previously, about boys being left behind and yada, yada. But it is true. Boys are left behind, and they have not been taught you are more than provider. You are also companion. You are equal as well.
Which is part of what brings us to this situation that we're in, where in 2025, if a woman has successfully done anything, suddenly it's only because she's a DEI hire, which apparently means that only white men get jobs because they're capable, and everybody else must be a DEI hire.
Well, finally, as long as you fucking realize that, and you have to remember, at the end of the day, your body, my choice. Uh-huh. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for piping in with that one.
Anytime. Hey, listen, sometimes the mute button's handy, okay?
Right.
The Red Sox would have won a World Series long before they did, had they done a few DEI hires. Had they not been the last team in America to get black players or Dominicans. They may have had better earlier years in the 50s. Than they did. Yeah, I think that's just the scapegoating of everything, right? It's DEI, it's this, it's.
I wonder how many DEI hires were involved in that Signal chat.
Well, that Signal chat is so. I was listening to a little piece of the congressional hearing on that today.
Oh, you mean the one where nobody would admit to anything and kept trying to redirect the questioning?
Yeah, just have some balls and say, you know what? It was a fucking mistake.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. If somebody would just, that's the whole Republican thing, too. Okay?
Yeah.
And even Democrat.
Dude from the CIA was even like, dude from the CIA was like, we were told that this was acceptable for work use. Was it acceptable for war plans? Was it acceptable for classified information?
Well, look, I mean, there's even stuff under the Biden administration. If they had just come up and said, you know what, look, we fucked up. Who knows? Who knows what this world would have been at that point? Mm-hmm. Okay. But same thing, Republican administration in there right now. If somebody say, look, you know what a grand size fuck up. We're sorry. Okay. That ain't going to happen again. We fucked up. Okay. It's over. Okay. We don't need fucking Maxine Waters diving in and go, now why? I want to know why. Well, I don't need that. We fucked up.
I just feel like the absolute over focus on Hillary's emails kind of brings us full circle.
Well,
because the same people who are defending this
her emails
were losing their fucking minds about Hillary using a private email server.
Well,
there is a difference.
To be fair, she was on CompuServe, for fuck's sake. To be fair.
Right.
Okay.
But
Wally was on that email chat too.
I think Wally was actually using Netscape at that point.
She did have a secure, approved, not hooked to the internet server or computer. They were using their private cell phones, which they're getting the emails, Chris, please. They're getting the text messages say, this is the Microsoft. Here, open this. And then one of those guys is in fucking Russian airspace using his private phone, and the other one's over East Asian airspace or Chinese airspace or somewhere in East Asia, India, using his private fucking phone to have these conversations. And you gotta know this ain't the first time.
Hello, you have reached the signal. Where is the bomb?
Where is the bomb? Where do you plan to drop the bomb? It's just, it's insanity, but really it is. And it's like you would teach your kids if you had kids, or you want your friends to do, or your parent. My bad. That's all. My bad.
If
That's
anyone involved in this administration had ever done that, I don't think we would be in the situation we were in.
Politicians in general.
It stems back further than that. It stems back to anything in life. Wally was saying with parenting. It took him. But my mother actually.
Is he fucking with us, or is he really cutting out?
Yeah, I don't know. He said my mother.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I heard.
Yeah, same here.
Do you still hear me?
Now I can hear you.
No, I can't.
You can't hear me. I got 5 bars.
I can hear you right now. Try again after my mother.
Everybody should try after my mother.
Yeah, you said my.
What I said was, my mother apologized for beating the shit out of us.
Huh.
That was nice.
When we were young.
My mother never
she
did.
apologized, and and I looked right at her and just slapped the cunt right in the face. No, I said, you know what? Look, different time, different space. Understood. It's okay. So,
yeah. It is really. It goes back like, you gotta just fucking say my bad. Own it. You gotta own it.
That's it.
And if you can't fucking own it, then you don't belong to being in any position you have that requires you to be trusted or in a leadership role. That includes parenting or a politician or the captain of the ski team or whatever. You just don't belong in a role if you cannot eat shit when it's time to eat shit.
Right. And you have to. That's all you need is an apology.
Yeah. I had going into those meetings with like the Democrats were fucking on fire today, and the Republican chair we cut them off immediately. You gave them their 5 minutes and that's it. We're moving on. But had those people, had Tulsi Gabbard or whoever else was in there, Wetzel or whatever his name, and they just said, listen, we understand where you guys are. We made a mistake. It's not going to happen again. The Democrats would have sat there fucking slack-jawed. They would have had nothing left to say. They couldn't have attacked them then.
Yeah.
They would have just had to go, okay, well, I guess this is settled. We know we made a mistake. We're going to fix it. Fantastic.
Yeah, and
Great.
call me racist if you want to, but you got Maxine Waters sitting there. They're going, and you don't. No, just stop. Apologize. Get it over with.
Right. So
what
my
what part of that was
Maxine,
racist, Chris? Just because you said the name of a black woman?
Because I said the name of a black
woman
and then imitated the.
Right.
She was fucking Shirley Hemphill or something.
Here's the thing, however. So Maxine Waters, and we'll go back to Strom Thurmond, but these people play these cards, the white man in the back, I'm in the back of the room, you don't pay attention. Black woman, they play gender cards and race cards and sex cards and all of these cards instead of just the fucking plain truth.
I like sex cards.
You don't have to be more black than somebody else or more white than somebody else. Just be the fucking person who got hired to do the job. That's it. It's like, Jess, when you were, boy, you talk a little Yankee. Can you get rid of that? No, I fucking can't, because this is who I am.
Do anything about that Yankee accent?
Yeah, because that's who I am. Hey, Wally, can you make that a little more Virginia twang in it? No, I fucking can't.
Yeah,
because
I certainly can.
Motherfucker.
I can do it. K92. K92. I can do it. K92.
WYYD. That was on. So I was before we turned it to country. Oh, it was country, and then change it to pop. But the big competitor in that area was WYYD, and he said, listen how they talk. He says WYYD, sort of like WNBC. WYYD. He said, you got to be able to talk like that. I said, no, I don't have to be able to talk like that. I ain't gonna sound that dumb.
No, but people are gonna call and yell at you anyway. I mean, Chris was there when people were yelling at me for the way I said Mount Zion Road.
You can't say Zion. No, it's Zion.
Zion.
It's not Zion.
Oh, Zion.
Mm-hmm.
Zion, yeah.
Yeah, well, like here, Lebanon here. So in New Hampshire, it's Lebanon.
In Tennessee, it's also
Maine,
Lebanon.
In Pennsylvania,
Maine,
it's Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
It's Lebanon, Maine.
Okay.
It's Lebanon, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
It's
Lebanon, Tennessee.
Oh, it's Lebanon.
Lebanon.
So you get you learn those things, but people yell at you about it.
Oh yeah,
it's like, shut the fuck up.
At one point at FRE, which is where I was probably, Texas is where I was probably yelled at the most. But in Texas, I was still so young and didn't know that I could make fun of those people and it would be funny. But in Frederick is where I think I got yelled at to the point where I would put that on the air and go, listen, I'm new. I'm not doing it on purpose. Tell me how to say the thing. Don't yell at me. And I'll say it right.
You tried to say hurricane once, and I don't remember how it came out of your mouth, but Maryland, it's a hurricane.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said hurricane.
I correct you on that.
I said hurricane like a normal human person.
Right. Maryland is not normal, Jess.
No. And then Chris corrected me and said it was a hurricane. You
weren't using the regional colloquialisms or vernacular.
I didn't know them yet. You know what's funny though? I got a review on one of the books I narrated the other day, and the person said that she loved that this book was set in Virginia, but I didn't try to put any kind of twang on it or anything.
Yeah, because you get spoiled right away.
Well, I am about to start a book where I'm going to have a Texas accent for some of it. But I didn't for this. It was a YA book. I just didn't try to put a Virginia accent on it. But this review said that she loved how many of my characters had the mid-Atlantic accent. And I was like, what?
The mid-Atlantic? I know you're talking like this. You have a whole storybook sitting there talking about somebody with a pocketbook trying to get their inky pen out of it.
I have a friend who, are you familiar with Bill Burr?
Yeah.
Comedian Bill Burr.
Yes.
So I have a friend who lives in Shirley, Massachusetts. He's been my friend since probably, I think, just about 40 years we've been friends. He sounds just like Bill Burr. The language, the vernacular, his cadence, but it's because they're from that area, because he was brought up in Acton and he now lives in Shirley. But the regional it is fucking it really is hard to reenact the specific, because it's not just the twang in Virginia. It's how your mama and them.
Yeah.
It's the other things. It's the other little
in northeastern Pennsylvania. It was, they said they had a thing. They would say "Heyna," which was basically like "ain't it," but they would say "hey." So it's hot out, Heyna, or no?
What?
That was fucking Greek.
Yeah. It's hot
Yeah.
out, ain't it or not? It's hot out, hey no, no.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
that's not a
but
thing
you
you would
never-
ever know if you didn't live in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Absolutely, that's right. You would not know it unless you lived, and even different sides of a town can have different ways of saying things.
Yeah.
In certain areas, you grew up on one, side of. Well, you can pick New York City just because it's big, but in one area of New York City, they say it one way, and another way they say it. It's like everybody thinks that people in Massachusetts speak like a Kennedy.
Yeah.
And
And
they
everybody
don't?
everybody thinks that everybody in New York City talks like
right.
coffee talk.
Coffee. It's coffee talk.
No big whoop.
Right. And they don't, and not everybody says park the car in Harvard Yard.
Mhm.
That doesn't work. They just don't.
My mind is being
grew up
blown
in
right now.
Massachusetts.
Totally blown. My mind is totally blown.
It just isn't. More people that I knew from Massachusetts sounded like Bill Burr than sounded like a Kennedy.
But the
See,
thing
more
is,
people that I know from Massachusetts sounded like Rose Kennedy. That's correct.
but the thing
That's
is,
correct. Pick again.
the fact that this review said that I had a mid-Atlantic accent cracked me up because I wasn't intentionally putting any accent on most of the characters.
So what is a mid-Atlantic accent?
What Chris
is that?
did. What Chris did.
That's
The
somewhere
You're
in
sitting
between.
there thinking about going over to the toilet. There's water in Washington, and you know that.
that's
Is that the
that's Baltimore.
that's the Washington.
That's Balmer.
I always think that's funny when people say Washington.
Oh yeah,
So-
my father still says, I forgot we were at some party 20 years ago.
Your
and,
father still says the N word. Who are you
Well,
kidding?
No, my father only says the N word as a verb and a noun and an adjective. It's fine. But he was he's trying to pretend like, he's proud of us and all that sort of shit. He says, oh, this is Christopher, he's doing the morning show on Warsh FM.
Yep.
What? Where?
I remember hearing people say Worston.
Yeah, there's Warshnan.
Mhm.
Warshnan, Balmer.
Mm-hmm.
There was
But
no
see, I never-
T's to be found.
I never put any sort of I did not intentionally try to do anything mid-Atlantic in that book, but I think that because I've lived so many places, some words I say come from some of the places that I've lived. So I have a little bit of Texas and a little bit of Pennsylvania and a little bit of Maryland and a little bit of upstate New York.
And I try not to have
talk.
anything like that. I try not to have any accent whatsoever. But there was a time, good God, I was on the air up in Baltimore. And, I was like, hey, 101.9 Light FM, whatever the hell the station was called. And we were giving away tickets to the Orioles. And my voice started getting faster and faster for some reason. Said, hey, if you go down there to Camden Yards today, giving away tickets and that. And I said, wow,
Well,
I just sounded like my grandmother. We've got Mariah Carey on the way next on 101.9.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I sounded like Granny.
I don't think I have much of an accent for the most part either. I don't think you'd listen to me and go, oh, you're from Bahaba.
No, but I think
Can't get there from here.
once you put headphones on and you hear your own voice coming through, you tend to I think you tend to lose most of your accent.
Oh, you do, because you're trying to correct it
you're right.
as you go.
Right.
And these people today in studios, they can't monitor what's on the air. They have to monitor what's local.
Mm-hmm.
And you've heard people on the air that try to monitor the air, and all of a sudden, they're going, today's 101 point, because there's that weird delay effect.
That slight echo, yeah.
My God, thank God we were not advanced up in Frederick, and we could actually listen to ourselves off of the tuner that was in the hallway.
Yeah.
Oh no! Except for you were on remote.
Oh, even then, because we were using Marty's, buddy,
Yep.
Oh,
and the Marty was
we would
real
be
time.
on remote, and we'd have like a not a big delay, like maybe a half-second delay,
Mm-hmm. That's all
or
it takes.
a quarter second of delay, like a tiny delay. It can definitely throw you.
Yeah.
Except
If you don't learn to tune it out, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not all that easy
No.
to do that, to tune it out, particularly when I've got a part-timer in the studio. Who the fuck knows what's going on? This is going to be a fucking disaster. What's that? What? Or when they're counting down to you to, okay, we're coming to you in 3, 2, and you got to start talking before they say 1, or else it's going to be, a full second of dead air.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least you had that. I had some asshole that's like, all right, we're going in 3, 2, 1, 0. What? What?
0. Oh, that's outstanding. 0.
Oh my God. And some of the I cringe when I listen back to some of the tapes, because there's 2 that I remember in particular, and I was drunk for both of them. And the one that was in the studio, I was coming out of Lady Gaga into something else. And I just began the break going, I have no idea what the hell she just said. I have no idea. And you hear me pick up the drink and slurp and say, all right, Wink FM, this is No Doubt. You literally hear me pick up the drink. But we were on doing a remote one time over the Comrex access, which that was close enough to real time.
Yeah.
And the morning guy, the very ultra religious morning guy that has been there for 35 years at that point, that I used to listen to laying in bed to get my school closings. Okay. And now I'm his boss. And I'm doing this remote and saying, oh, look, there's Barry Lee. Hey, Barry, what you got there? And he holds out what he's got in his hand. I said, oh, look, Barry's got his wiener in his hand. And it was a hot dog that he got from the Girl Scout troop. I said, hey, Barry, where'd you get that sloppy wiener from? And he said, Girl Scout Troop 12. They're about 2 booths down. I said, all right, here's No Doubt on Wink FM. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And some of the breaks, as the night went on, I was drunker and drunker. And you couldn't even hear me on the air. They would just pop me up in the studio, and you'd hear the band in the background, and you'd hear the fireworks. And then occasionally me going, yeah. I mean, it was the worst shit that happened at that radio station. Just God, I was a professional alcoholic for a while, wasn't I?
But God damn it, listeners never had a better time listening to the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Especially the ones that came on site. We had those stress balls and we were throwing them at people. It was great.
You cannot relate more to the audience than being the audience. And you know that half the people listening to you are drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can relate to the audience, but you can only relate so far. And I think I've told you this before, that I was doing afternoons at the Christian station. And it was 2003, 2004. And Julie and I were getting a divorce, and it was not what I'd call good.
Mm.
Okay. And, they wanted this happy WGTS 91.9. And there's Mandisa for you. And listen, we'd like to talk about faith and blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. And so fucking Tommy Kramer comes along and says, listen, you need to be more like your fucking self on the air. Okay. You need to be your fucking self.
Be careful what you wish for, Tommy.
I said, Tommy, here's the thing. He says, yeah, you're going to give me an excuse, but go ahead. Tommy, I'm going through a really bad divorce, and my current hobbies are fucking everyone I can get on top of, gambling and drinking. You think I ought to go on WGTS 91.9? Boy, I'm looking for a full house this weekend as I'm plowing this black bitch. You think I should do that? You think I should do that, Tommy? Is that what you want to hear? All right, well, just read the cards. Okay.
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 Oh, so goddamn good. So goddamn. Hey, Jess, I thought you were going to have guests.
Yeah, I thought there were guests this week.
Well, Brad was a potential for this week, and he said if not this week, then next week. Mickey actually has a job, so she heard your summons, but this is not a good time for her. She's currently sitting in traffic. So Chris won't be here in 2 weeks. How about Chris? How about 2 weeks from now for Brad?
And let's be fair. I will check in from the showroom floor.
Okay.
I will get on the call from the floor. I just can't devote any real time to it.
Okay.
I'll get on so you
okay.
all can say, "Oh, what's happening there?" I can say, "A lot of fucking nothing, Wally."
Broadcasting live and drunk from the NAB.
Well, it'll be like old home days for you.
Here's no doubt.
They have beer on the showroom floor. You're walking around booth to booth, and they're plying you. I mean, they are absolutely plying you.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest no-nos, at least in my very first, back in the 70s,
Yeah.
drinking and going on air were so wrong.
Well, I'm
right?
pretty sure it was illegal.
Yeah, I
there
think
was
it
a time
illegal.
that was illegal when the
Right.
FCC
It was
actually
illegal to
When
when
you
they cared.
when you still had to have a license to operate a radio station,
yes,
it
or
was
to
not
crack a
legal
mic.
for you to operate the radio station while intoxicated.
Yeah, you
couldn't
might
open
turn
it.
that 250 water up to 275, Wally, and God blasphemy.
Goodness gracious.
You might forget to go to low power at 6:30.
Mhm.
Yeah. Meanwhile, me and Jess are in the studio drunk, with our feet kicked up, going, "How the fuck did it get to this?
Man,
How did we get here?"
it became
Yeah.
painfully obvious.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that after your experience, Jess, you just didn't say "fuck this."
Which experience would that be?
In Frederick,
I believe she did.
I did.
She did. That was it.
you didn't do anything after that.
I did the station in Memphis, which got me out of Frederick. I was
you
there
rebel.
for 8 months. Then I left that station and came to Nashville, and I have not worked in terrestrial radio since.
Yeah, but you're still in radio for the.
Yeah, but I don't work for a radio company, and I don't have to deal
Right.
with radio bullshit.
Right.
I work in radio in the best possible fucking way.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. You absolutely do. You're having so it's like what it used to. It's fun again.
Yeah.
Like it's fun, and that's
And you know what makes
when
it
I
fun?
stopped.
Having no people to deal with.
I loved radio because it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was fucking really it was a blast.
Yeah.
Fucking radio was unbelievably fun.
Mm-hmm.
And when it became a fucking job, I fucking hated it. I hated every fucking minute of it. I couldn't get out of it fast enough until I found another fun job where I wasn't dealing with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just, I was doing the morning show. There was nobody there. I was the program director. Hey, do this, do this, do this. And it wasn't important. It was a station sitting all by itself in the middle of fucking, a small community surrounded by 3 or 4 other small communities. No real competition. You weren't fighting with anybody. All the advertising was local. You weren't worried about national numbers or fucking the book or any of that bullshit.
Yeah.
That's when it's fucking outstanding.
And that's the thing. We don't have ratings. We don't have, we have metrics that show listening, but because there's no direct line, there's no cause and effect direct line between
right.
the changes in the metrics and, what we're doing most of the time, that the metrics they're not used for or against us. Like if listening increases, if the metrics show that we're getting more and more listening in country, my boss is going to go, "Hey, Jess, more people are listening to country these days. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. But if the listening declines, he's not going to go, "What the fuck are you doing to chase away listeners?"
Right. Well, because in real life, that shit is all cyclical.
Yeah, and it could decline for any number of reasons. People are on summer vacation and they're not in their car as much, or they're not wherever it is that they listen most of the time. During the holidays, our listening goes to shit. And by the way, I check the metrics for country every week just to kind of keep track of myself, how each of our stations is doing. There are 60 motherfuckers still listening to our country Christmas station.
60.
Oh, it's because the weather outside is frightful.
12 of them tried it since we're new listeners from the previous week.
But I can understand. But that kind of makes sense, though.
Does it?
Because it does. That someone might check in it, because every now and again, like we had snow here. We had 6 inches of snow yesterday or the day before yesterday. And when it does snows here in fucking March, I find myself humming a Christmas tune. And I'm not opposed to hearing a Christmas tune. A good one, not shit music. I don't want to hear grandma got run over by a reindeer or some shit.
Right.
But if it's a real piece of music. Now, could they be listening hours and hours a day? If they are,
they're not. They're not. They don't have. There's not a lot of TSL on on that station, but it just cracks me up that every week there are 60 people listening to that station.
I think it's pretty. I was in Hannaford today.
Yeah.
And they were playing. Oh, I just forgot her name. God damn it, Shelter. Let Me Be Your Shelter.
Taylor Dane. I was about to say I was in
Dane.
I was in the Walgreens about 30 minutes ago, and they were playing Breakout from
Swing Out Sister.
Somehow I don't even know how I came across this. I came across Love Will Lead You Back the other day, and I spent the rest of the week like in my kitchen because the acoustics are really good in my kitchen, singing that song at the top of my lungs.
What were you singing?
Love Will Lead You Back.
Love will lead you back.
That's the one. Much less operatic, though.
Yes. Well, Taylor Dane, if nothing else, is not operatic.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Oh, God, no. Taylor Dane was a whaler.
Oh, and you know what? I loved her. I met her and her little Yorkie.
Oh, really?
Came by the radio station once. Yeah, she had a dog in her purse. And I mean, she was just delightful. And I met her again 15 years later at an 80s show. And I said, you remember when you brought your dog to the... Oh, honey, I brought the dog everywhere. Okay.
Why did she sound like Norma Eilenberg?
Because she was Norma Eilenberg.
That would be disappointing.
I was in love with Taylor Dane.
So was I.
I don't want to say I was in love, but I found her to be incredibly sexy.
She was very cool. I always liked her style when I was young, and her music a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, that was top 40 radio for me growing up, though.
Yep.
That was it. I mean, that and, Hungry Eyes from Eric Carmen and Starship, whatever that bullshit
We Built This
poppy
City.
record was. No, the other one, from the movie Mannequin, whatever the fuck that song was.
Wasn't that We Built This City?
No, it was Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now.
Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. That's right. That's right.
Starship? Is that Starship?
That's the same song in my head.
Yeah, well, they basically, yeah.
Yeah.
My song, the song that I would listen to when I was down, very down, was All by Myself.
Where was you?
Who's that? The Raspberries.
And then Celine Dion did it later.
Well, yeah, Celine Dion was not Eric Carmen.
No,
I mean that's for sure.
No. But that was Eric Carmen, and then the other song. Here's another one of my favorites. It was Dan Hill. Do you remember that song? Sometimes When We Touch.
So we had
the
that
honesty's
on a cart.
too much.
Yeah, we had that on a cart at the radio station when I was like 16 years old, and I went to play it. The program director at that point was this old guy named Michael Q. Anthony, and he was a big legend up in Albany and all that sort of shit. He used to be on WPTR and all that bullshit, and he had no idea how to run equipment. So there was one cart machine in the studio that had a record button on it for phone calls. Okay. Well, he recorded in the middle of this cart and nobody told me. So you're in the middle of sometimes when we radio station. Hello. These goddamn people keep hanging up on this goddamn station. God damn it.
Suddenly it's Wally trying to figure out how to use his Alexa.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Fantastic.
And I hate to cut it short. I've got a FCC document I'm supposed to file before 5. I just got a text on, so I got to run.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys next week.
I will talk to you all next week.
All right. Bye.
All right, you guys. Ciao.